was an entire village that claimed that UFOs were actually hurting and attacking the people, and they had like scars on their chest.
Tired of being flaccid around your friend? The wife is a stripper.
I'm gonna get murked in here, right?
You're gonna get a slap in the face.
Yeah, he keeps me young and I keep him in line, so.
Yeah.
No, it's true what you said about having a genuine interest in people. Like in my field, like you're meeting people at their worst moments and their most joyous. So if you're coming up to a family who just lost everything in a fire and you're like, oh, can I interview you real quick? You're gonna get a slap in the face. And a lot of new reporters have that issue with them. So over the years, you just learn to be empathetic towards them. First question that should be out of your mouth is, are you okay?
Yeah, do you want a blanket? Can I offer you some water?
Yeah.
That's the difference between feeling exploited and trusting somebody, right? I mean, it could be the same content, but what's your interest and how are you invested in this individual? Are you trying to extract the most out of a dramatic and sad situation for news
Clicks,
content?
yeah, for clicks.
Or is he giving me a human element that I want to open up to him about, and maybe it's almost cathartic for them to give that interview?
Yeah, and that's a problem with traditional media these days, is there's always some sort of intention there and motive, and so reporters and journalists can definitely get lost in that mindset. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, so just treat everyone the same, and that's the advice that I can give to any new journalist out there. But going back to your job as realtors, have you had any encounters that were weird or kind of off?
Dude, with people or properties? Because properties is one thing, because I'll tell you what, I mean, showing homes is always, like I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for one specific reason. Like I was showing properties in Los Angeles, and it was like in the hood of Los Angeles, and I was like, dude. And I remember like this one hoarder house that was like boarded up, and they were like, yeah, can you just go in there and kind of get some pictures, do some measurements for this investor? And I like opened the door, and right away I was like, I'm gonna get murked in here, right? So instantly like went back, signed up for jiu-jitsu, because some of the houses you see are just like, not only you don't know what you're gonna step on, but you don't know who's hiding in the closet.
Okay, I'll share something that's kind of off the cuff, and I don't know, I haven't shared this story in a long time. I had bought my house from somewhat of an acquaintance that was about to have the house go in foreclosure. So they had about one more month, and the guy that was selling me the house had kind of yanked around the bankers for so long. There was this New York investment firm. And so he basically really had to let the property go, otherwise they were going to take it. Yeah. So I'm on the phone with these New York guys. They're going, I want to let you know, this seller, if 30 more days, Grant, it's going to be your money. We want $10,000 deposit, and if you don't get this done, we're taking your $10,000 and we're taking the house. I go, hey, I'm ready to play ball. So we're going through the loan process, and here I am on the other end of it as a mortgage broker, and the guy that's supposed to do the appraisal is on meth and we can't find him. So we finally, I don't know if the seller wakes him up and go, hey, we're really going to lose this house. He bangs out an appraisal. And so then, it's this couple that's selling me the house, and the wife is a stripper. And so we get to the closing table. And so they go, congrats, we're all sitting there, seller, buyer, and the wife goes, hey, so are you ready to go celebrate now? And I go, no, I got a house to move into. And she elbows the seller, the husband, going, he knows nothing about this, doesn't he? And the seller goes, sometimes you gotta lie to get the things you want. And it was almost a movie moment. He had promised her that I would be with her.
Oh my God.
To get the house. And so then he was like, charade's over, but that was uncomfortable.
That's always a good moment.
I think I really hit a home run there. And the most uncomfortable moment in real estate was that.
And that's how all pornos start.
And that's how I got these glasses.
And that's how we got this couch.
Segment 3.
Going back to your hoarding experience, imagine you're at a showing and you find something in the yard, and you can't tell if it's metal, you can't tell what kind of materials they use. That's exactly what happened in 1947 in one of the most infamous UFO encounters in history. And of course, it happened right here in New Mexico in Roswell.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so back in 1947, a rancher spotted debris in a field. He couldn't tell what kind of material it was. And shortly after that, the U.S. government, the military, came back and said, oh, it came from a flying disc. And then just a few hours later, they retracted that statement and said, oh, it was just a weather balloon. Do you buy that?
You know what's funny is I've not really read up on the whole Roswell scenario. I don't know. I mean, you always just heard rumors of it, like growing up in New Mexico. Like we're known for two things: we're Breaking Bad and Roswell. But I never did like a deep dive into the real story. And I think that was always because like pre-internet, you were just like, well, that's what they said. That's what it is. But that's pretty wild to think that like, you know, there's just so many levels of cover up. But I'm curious what the real story is.
It's hard because there are so many things that government has buffered us from, and maybe for our own good, because sometimes we can't handle simple truths. But I happen to believe there are other life forms out there. I mean, that's got to be as expansive as this universe is. I do feel like there's some other life form. Have they reached here? That'd be a tough move. And maybe they had their first attempt. You know, I'm not sure. I'm not one of those conspiracy theorist guys, but it would be crazy to believe that we're just here. That's it.
Well, UFOs are definitely real. I mean, there's video of it. I mean, there's government has, you know, leaked documents and videos saying, yes, it's real. We don't know what it is, but could it be other life forms? I mean, you look at how far away is the nearest galaxy is Andromeda, which is how many like millions of light years away from us. So I mean, there's no way you can, unless you can bend space-time and figure out wormholes. I mean, and that's a whole nother level in conversation.
Never say never. We learned it on the show, Skip.
No.
Never. I'm tired of these no people.
Have you seen the jellyfish UFO out of Iran?
No.
That I just was watching George Knapp's new documentary on Netflix, and that was the most unique UFO footage that was ever found because it was circling over a military base there, and the shape it literally looked like a jellyfish just floating over the military base. And then I was watching this video from Lockheed Martin, and they were explaining how they have this technology now that can basically move in ways that we haven't seen before. And I mean, just tell me it was a reverse engineering program without telling me it was a reverse engineering program, right? So I don't know. Like, I mean, like you said, there are documented videos out there. So I just think the whole thing is interesting.
I'm pretty glad that this footage had surfaced nowadays, because we're about to be super fooled with AI and the way things could be created. We already have a hard time with reality. I'm glad that this happened before things got so out of control, because we are going to live in a time, this may be far-fetched in terms of what our topic was, but we're going to live in times where someone's going to say, hey, no, I saw it with my own eyes, and be like, that's true, you did, but that's also not true. And that will be really confusing for people, because there's already footage that we would, well, that's obviously not true. And wait till it becomes more real looking, and people's perception of truth is going to differ per person. And there's, you know, that's where we're headed to, is being able to discern what did we see and what was actually real.
Yeah, so ever since the Roswell incident, of course, several decades have passed since then. The theories have only grown. Witnesses claim they have seen strange debris and even alien bodies where the crash site was. But these claims have, of course, been denied by the U.S. government. So to this day, the town of Roswell, of course, attracts tourists, UFO enthusiasts all over the world. Have you ever been to the Roswell, their annual convention?
Never been to the convention, but don't they have a McDonald's shaped like a UFO? Is that true?
There was supposed to be a music festival, and they canceled it. That's the only way you're going to get me out to Roswell, is having a music festival with aliens attending as a
that
DJ.
would be a sick music festival. I would go.
They were supposed to do it. I thought this was the conglomerate of it all was going to be awesome, and then you, at the end of it, you just disappear. You just ascend.
Teleport home. Dude, as long as there's no traffic, you could just teleport home. That'd be sick.
I would rather die than go through EDM traffic. Like one more.
That is one of the worst
EDC.
Sunrises, just sitting in the parking lot with the sun coming up.
You kind of question whether you've made the right decisions. And so what caused him to get married, and I just vowed never to go.
Well, that wasn't the only UFO encounter that happened in the state. Have you guys been to Socorro at all?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
everyone's driven through Socorro.
That's South Valley, right? Like.
Yeah, it's south of here.
Oh, you're on the Frisbee golf team out of there.
Yeah, very funny. They have, the Owl Cafe in Socorro. That's
Al Cafe.
Yeah, that's about all they got.
Is that the San Antonio one?
Yeah, isn't that Socorro?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is San Antonio Socorro?
Yes.
Why are we should know this.
I do
You
know
should.
this.
That's why I brought you here.
Yeah, I do know this.
Well, speaking of flying discs, so there was another encounter back in the 60s, in 1964. So a police officer by the name of Lonnie Zamora witnessed an event.
Never let me off once.
Typical
Okay,
Lonnie.
you ever heard of warning ticket, Lonnie? Okay, go on.
I wonder if he's still alive today. I mean, it happened in the 60s,
Oh.
which probably he is. So this was one of the most well-documented UFO encounters in the state, aside from the Roswell incident. So Officer Zamora was on patrol when he heard a loud roar followed by a bright blue flame. So of course he went to see it. He was an officer. He was on duty. And then that's when he said he saw a shiny egg-shaped object just hovering above the ground where that crash site was. Then he said he saw two human-like figures right next to where the craft was. And what police say really stood out about this is his encounter was detailed and his testimony was very consistent. So in an interview with officials, Officer Zamora said, "I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was about 50 yards away and I could see this object, this craft just hovering, and it made no noise, and then it just lifted up and then sped away in a flash." Are you buying it?
Well, what is it? What does his cell phone footage say?
Were cell phones around back then?
But that's the crazy thing, right? It's like how with all the cameras, that everybody has a camera, high definition
We should
camera.
be able
we
to
should have way
see
more
everything.
footage,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We should see bodies by now
That's how I know there's
Yeah.
only 2 actual Bigfoots.
down here.
The show has become I'm sorry, Gabe.
Gabe, let's keep it professional.
All right. All right, so you're not buying his account?
I
then?
am 100%. Look, I think if
You're buying it?
I am buying it. I'll
Okay.
buy it if you want to rebut me. But I'm thinking, look, if you're an officer of the law, officers never lie, and I think that if he saw it and he
Yeah.
documented it, but here's what you said is that his testimony or story was never unwavering, didn't change his story.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for
His
that.
name's Lonnie.
Lanny.
Not Lonnie. Lying Lonnie is what they call it on the
Lying
force.
Lonnie.
I do believe that sometimes, here's something philosophical. Sometimes, like, how do we know what our eyes are seeing? How do we know that's actually fuchsia, right? I mean, how do we know he didn't see that? I mean, he may be very earnest about his recount. I don't know if that was actually what happened. Maybe he
Yeah.
was huffing gas. Maybe, maybe he was on the late night of his shift, and
We had talked about.
they test for drugs, so he's just huffing gas at the end of his shift.
I was going to say, yeah, we talked about ketamine on one of our episodes earlier this week, but yeah, you never know what could be going on in the fields of Socorro.
Maybe he's popping some mushrooms.
Lanny,
Maybe.
typical Lanny.
Yeah, Lonnie hanging out in produce again.
Yeah, so his report was taken seriously by investigators, including the U.S. Air Force. So the event has never been fully explained. Many believe that it was a legitimate UFO encounter, but like you said, the physical evidence just isn't there. Just the scorched vegetation around the site and
Wow.
the impression on the ground. So no one knows except for Lonnie.
You know what's wild though is like we hear all these stories about my uncle, whatever it is, Lonnie down in Socorro, but these stories don't just take place in New Mexico or the United States
Yeah.
or North America. I mean, there's stories from all over the world of people recounting.
What doesn't help is when they were making those crop circles, right? So then you get stuff like that, and it kind of takes the merit or credit away from some of these stories where someone goes, "Yeah, that guy did that, but like my story's true." There's a lot of people who are willing.
Dude,
to
how awesome were crop circles, by the way? Let's talk about
Right.
crop. Were you around for crop
I
circles?
was, yeah.
I think I was like, how old was I? Like 8 to 10
It
years
was pretty
old.
inventive by the guy that said, "Look, I just went out there and did it, and next thing you know, my field, and oh my God, what is this?"
No
What a
one person
prankster.
could have done that. That's my thing.
But I love how they like the news, and I'm just going off of memory, and this was fucking 30 years ago, but
One of the guys that's fessed up to it.
But I know, but they would always go out and try and recreate. Like, there's no technology that could make this, and literally, it was just a dude with a board, just
him,
like
him and his ox
yeah, just laying down the wheat
running
in a
around.
field.
Yeah, there isn't a technology.
That
to
would have
do
been a
that.
squiggly line. That would have been a...
Either way, man, let's
Yeah.
do a deep dive on crop circles next epi.
Can we bring anyone on?
Probably.
Let's try to make some.
Is Lonnie still
Oh,
around?
Don Trader.
Ooh, he seems
He
pretty
might.
croppy.
Yeah.
Shout out Don.
Yeah, crop top.
I'm actually going to have him.
Toppy?
Yeah.
I'm going to have him on the show in a few episodes.
Oh, that's great.
So
To learn how to go to the bathroom correctly.
You know who we need to get is Marty Chavez. That's what. Sorry, before I forget, we need to get Marty Chavez on the episode. Is he still around? Shout out Marty
I don't
Chavez. He's always the mayor. Never mind.
He's probably hanging out with Lonnie.
probably.
Paint.
I did hear a theory on that documentary saying that these UFO encounters probably aren't extraterrestrial life, but they're us from the future, and they found a way to time travel, and so that's why we haven't seen them, because they've entered through the portal. They don't have any ill intent. They're just trying to figure out a way to help us as a civilization, and then that's why they come in, they go out.
I mean, now you might as well just say it's Clifford the Big Red Dog's former owners or back in ghost form. It's just like when they provide solutions and someone goes, no, here's what's actually happening. You go, that's even crazier than the alien.
I would rather have an alien than some dude from the future being like, the future sucks. I'm going to create a portal, go back, and really fix things.
It's Lonnie's ancient grandfather.
Some burial ground. I don't know.
Well, they were doing this sort of model and just modeling out like what our skeletal structure was from thousands of years ago, and
Like what's progressing to?
Yeah, what it's progressing to, and it would be our skeletons would have a bigger head, we would have bigger eyes, and a smaller lower half of our head. So that's what they were basing it from. But I think that's a stretch.
Probably from Zen consumption.
Oh, who's got a Zin?
I don't know.
Sponsored. Cut to commercial. Zins.
Actually, Zen's getting canceled. I heard. Did you hear that?
What, by Tucker Carlson?
Yeah.
Tucker shitting all over Zins?
Is it?
Yeah, because he started his own brand.
He accidentally started a new competitor with Zen.
Accidentally?
Yeah, because apparently Zen sent him a letter saying, "Oh, you said that our Zins fix your ED problem, and that's completely false." And then so he just created his own nicotine pouch brand.
That has like what? Like this has like boner pills in it?
Just Dude Ranch in it? What is
Probably
it?
nicotine
Round
with what is this?
I don't know.
Tired of your erectile dysfunction and Nick Fitz? Not anymore. Oh no, not again.
You're like hanging out with the boys. We'll now get bonus.
You're tired of being
Being
flaccid?
Yeah,
tired of being flaccid around your friends? Not
Anyway.
anymore.
Tucker Carlson's dick pouches. Dick pouches.
He's like before and after. He's just pitching tent.
Just like, anyways, cut to commercial.
Anyway, have you guys been to Dulce at all? That's in northern New Mexico.
What is, Dolce?
Dulce. Is that how you say it, Dulce or Dulce?
I don't.
I've
You're
been to
more
the retail stores.
You're
The Gabbana?
Yeah, didn't your glasses break?
No, I haven't.
You're more of a northern New Mexico guy. I haven't spent too
Yeah,
much time up there.
it's close to the Colorado border. It's also the location of one of the most mysterious UFO locations. So there's an underground facility there, and it's been the subject of countless UFO conspiracy theories. So nothing physical. So according to some reports, the Dulce base is not just a military installation, but also a secretive joint operation between humans and extraterrestrials. So some of the stories, there's secret experiments there, alien hybrids, strange technologies hidden deep within the ground. The theories gained traction in the late 70s with the release of a book called The Dulce Wars by a researcher named Paul Benowitz. So he claimed to have uncovered evidence of alien activity at the base. So the researcher, he said in an interview, people who have worked at Dulce claim to have witnessed beings that weren't human. There have been rumors of shootouts between military personnel and alien forces deep beneath the surface. I mean, how does that work?
This sounds like an episode of like the worst sci-fi. Like imagine you're pitching a sci-fi show and you're like, all right, so here's what's going to be. This small town in New Mexico, we're going to have a shootout with aliens underground.
There's
like
Red Dawn 2.
Colorado invades New Mexico, but with aliens. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So there's no concrete evidence proving the existence of that in Dulce.
Odd.
So the stories still persist. It's one of those eerie New Mexico legends that blurs the line between fact and fiction.
I'd say that's one I've never heard of. First of all, I've never heard of Dolce. Shout out Dolce up north. But
Did you know the Loch Ness Monster is actually out of Cochiti?
yeah, that's true. I heard that.
This is what it reminds me of.
It's just the most asinine tale you could make up, and just for clicks or something. How long has that story been around?
Since the 70s.
Before the internet.
Before lying occurred.
Yeah.
And before lying was invented. So maybe he has onto something. I don't know. This is the National Enquirer thing. Remember your kid worked in the National Enquirer and like, oh, did you know that Bill Clinton's actually an alien?
Yeah.
And you go, page 3. Oh, it's actually not the biggest news. Okay. He is.
Yes, turns out it's in the news.
Yeah. So I think these people, I don't know. I mean, drugs have been around for a while, right? I mean, who knows what the reality was? You know, how much acid was going around.
They could have just been tripping balls back then.
Just huffing paint in New Mexico.
Yeah, him and Lonnie.
Yeah,
him and Lonnie hooking up forces, just creating tales.
Carrying the legacy.
Just creating tall tales.
Well, there's a pretty recent one in the early 2000s in San Antonio. Do you know where that is?
Yeah, that's where
Al Cafe.
Okay.
Which is still, maybe it's just all one big
I hope that's
alien
Socorro.
factory.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, so in San Antonio, for several nights in a row, multiple witnesses have came forward seeing strange lights in the sky, just floating and then darting in ways that defied explanation. So there were multiple accounts in the early 2000s. So they were described as hovering over the Rio Grande and moving in erratic patterns. Some witnesses even reported seeing a formation of lights resembling a triangle or a V shape. So the U.S. Air Force later denied any connection to any military aircraft. I think they can't fly past a certain time.
The aliens?
They do have curfew, I read that.
Yeah.
So they denied it, but skeptics argued that it could have been flares or swamp gas. But for those who saw it, there was no mistaking what they experienced, the San Antonio lights. Have you heard of that at all?
What the fuck is swamp gas? How has that ever become...
Well, you know why Socorro is filled with swamps.
They're true, that is where
the alligator infestation that they had to have the Coast Guard come in.
The New Mexico Everglades. No, I've never heard of that one either. But I'm curious to see like video footage of all this stuff or concrete evidence.
Well, he's going to cue it up.
How about we get one shred of evidence for, besides tall tales from Lonnie?
Well, their claim is that it's all hiding in area 61?
51?
51.
Well, we're going to unearth it.
So here's the thing. I mean, you talk to what's the new thing with Donald Trump? I mean, the new administration coming in. Is he going to open the books, pull back the curtain?
He said he's going to unveil the RFK files. That's what he said. He said he got one peek at it, he opened it up, and then he closed it because he thought he shouldn't be doing that.
Really?
And he said in a Joe Rogan podcast that he is eventually going to reveal what is in the
Is he at liberty to do so?
JFK files.
Can he?
I don't know.
Can we take the JFK Cadillac out for a spin too?
Well, there's been congressional hearings of top military officials testifying that all these things are happening. Like they say that there is.
That's right. I did hear that.
There is evidence of non-human beings and aircraft where they can't decipher what kind of material was used. And of course, the thousands of video footage that are out there. I saw something in Brazil where there was an entire village that claimed that UFOs were actually hurting and attacking the people, and they had like scars on their chest. So, I mean, there's numerous accounts out there, but we'll see. We'll have to see.
That spawns distrust between the population and government. The more they find that we're going to protect you from you, you don't get to know this stuff. I mean, that only forms that forms we'll say, don't get crazy with this word, the cleavage between known fact and what the people believe in.
Yeah.
So
I think with the age of the internet, it's time we all know. I mean, let's cut the conspiracies.
But people already can't handle the information that's out there with like misinformation.
Well, because it's all misinformation.
You just have to put .gov for it to just be like, listen,
this is
the
real.
government. Yeah.
This is real.
And I wonder how many of them are just people who are just lonely and just wishful thinking. They're hoping that something else is out there for them.
That's me. A few times I've thought about coming up with a few whoppers for the public. I'm on my couch. It's Wednesday, 9:10 p.m. Just me and my dog. Oh, maybe there was an alien that stole my P&M box.
Well, only time will tell, right?
Look, man, I hope they.
I don't know what's out there. The more you know, the more you don't know.
Yeah,
I've been
true.
a firm believer in I don't.
But I think it's all misdirection too, that they'll feed you that this is, from another planet just to cover up the fact that now we have this new drone technology that's going to wipe out China.
Yeah.
You're on notice, China.
On this show?
China. All right. On that note, it was good having you guys again, and good luck with all you do. Let me know if you ever see strange lights in the sky when you're out on a show.
I'm about to make up a little number tonight.
Check my Twitter later.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. It really lets me know what kind of content you want. Also, if you're new here, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell notifications so you get notified anytime I post a new video. And again, thanks for joining us here on Off Air, your source for no nonsense news.